Excellencies, distinguished delegates, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely with great pleasure that I welcome you to the third day of the 5th Commonwealth Africa Summit 2018. I thank the organizing committee of the summit for the invitation to deliver the keynote address during this auspicious event. I'm extremely delighted to be a part of it. It's an epoch-making occasion, definitely. And I'm delighted particularly because the topic of discussion is coming at a time when the African continent needs to look inwards. It's definitely a time that we should come together and seek ways in which we can synergize our different strengths and be able to bring all of that together, because those are the things that bind us for us to be able to prosper. We have 19 African member countries in the Commonwealth with a combined population of over 500 million people. That's according to the United Nations population estimate of 2016. As a continent, we are blessed with so many resources, both human and natural, that there should be no reason why any African country should go cap in hand looking for aid or assistance. In fact, I think that time has come, that time has gone, and it's time for us to move on. It's my hope that at the end of this summit, we would have increased our conversations and found ways of how we can improve trade among the member countries in order to develop our individual national economies to becoming self-sufficient and self-sustaining. I believe that the building blocks that will be laid out during this summit will go a long way in shaping the destiny of our dear continent Africa to actualize its potential of becoming a force to be reckoned with among other continents of the world. Development cannot be hidden for too long. If we're able to sort out our issues together and forge ahead for our collective progress, the successes of our deliberations in this summit would not only be seen, but it will have positive and lasting impact that everybody would be able to key into. This is because there's an innate potential in every human being to succeed, and Africans are not an exception. This morning, I'll be charging us on unlocking development potential of Africa's emerging entrepreneurs. I want us to look at 4 issues. A, we will take a look at the role and importance entrepreneurship activities play on the economy of any nation, any region, or any continent. And B, we will identify the peculiar challenges African entrepreneurs have to face. C, we will also consider the available opportunities for entrepreneurship on the continent. And finally, I'd like to propose how we as stakeholders can provide solutions to the challenges entrepreneurs face on the continent in a bid to unlock their potentials. Now let's get started. A, entrepreneurship and its importance to a nation's economy. It is an established fact that entrepreneurs are the backbone of modern economies. Entrepreneurial ventures spark economic development through job creation and improving a nation's GDP via economic diversification, increasing the inflow of foreign exchange through exports, improvements in the standard of living through innovative business ideas and enhancement skills, labor through research and development. Entrepreneurs also create social change and community development. Mr. Barack Obama, former President of the United States of America, attested to the strategic role American entrepreneurs play in growing the nation's economy in his State of the Nation address in 2010. And he said, and I quote, "Now, the true engine of job creation in this country will always be America's businesses. In small businesses, companies begin when an entrepreneur takes a chance on a dream." And I believe that this applies to all continents. Indeed, the difference in economic growth and growth rates of countries is largely due to the quality of their entrepreneurs. Therefore, it is imperative that all stakeholders, policymakers, development institutes, business right owners, change agents, non-government institutions, and donor agencies work together to nurture Africa's emerging entrepreneurs in order to drive a positive growth in our continent's economic development. Africa's youth demography and entrepreneurship. According to the International Development Research Center report of 2015, there are nearly 200 million Africans aged between 15 and 24. This makes Africa the youngest continent on the globe in relation to population composition. This figure points to the fact that the potential contribution of Africa's young people to its sustained economic development is immense if properly utilized. The report further states that by 2050, Africa's young workforce will be the largest in the world, surpassing that of China and India. This, according to Dr. Mukisa Kituyi, the Secretary General of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, is an employment time bomb, if not handled properly and appropriately. The employment constraints in the formal sector has made it impossible for it to meet the employment demands of this growing young population. And for many of them, the only avenue for employment will be for them to create their own enterprise. Therefore, it is imperative that we harness the potential of Africa's youth to engage in entrepreneurship and provide adequate assistance to enable them to succeed before that bomb goes off, so to speak. Also, having been encumbered with conflicts and war, lack of basic social amenities, diseases and instability in governance, our African youth, a bunch of diamonds in the dirt, will have to harness the continent's potential to take its place among global entrepreneurial agents and giants. Currently, sub-Saharan Africa is dominated by micro entrepreneurs. These are business people who employ fewer than 5 individuals, often family members, under informal arrangements. These ones typically run unregistered commercial activities, such as household businesses, or are engaged in small-scale farming. Evidence shows that most of these micro-entrepreneurs are more likely to fail because of several factors, such as uncertainty, risks in their local environments, political and economic instability, as well as changes in global commodity prices and regulations, as most African economies are import-dependent. According to the World Bank, African entrepreneurs face some of the world's toughest business conditions. Most African countries perform poorly in the World Bank's ease of doing business surveys. This is because resources necessary to grow a business are not easily accessible in Africa. Finance, in particular, is costlier in Africa than in other parts of the world. Interestingly, recent studies using World Bank Enterprise Survey data show that micro and small African firms tend to survive slightly longer than their counterparts in other regions. B, what are the challenges facing entrepreneurs in Africa? Africa is an increasingly attractive destination for overseas investment, boasting of 7 out of the 11 fastest growing economies in the world, and a young, tech-savvy population. Despite the opportunities that exist for businesses in Africa, the continent has a number of unique challenges to overcome. These factors not only constrain the efforts of the continent's entrepreneurs, but they also hold back the pace of economic and social development. The top 8 challenges African entrepreneurs constantly face in their businesses are: 1, lack of access to finance, or shall we say, insufficient capital. Finance is a major resource, yet it's the scarcest. The lack of finance makes the opportunity cost of lending much higher for entrepreneurs, as lenders demand higher levels of collaterals before they can lend to entrepreneurs in view of the attendant start-up risks. Then 2, lack of infrastructure. Easy access to reliable and quality infrastructure increases productivity and efficiency, lowers transaction costs, and improves access to markets and sustainable growth. Entrepreneurs in Africa still struggle with a low stock of infrastructure in their day-to-day activities. For example, over 620 million Africans lack access to electricity. Even in more urban areas, power outages and load shedding are a frequent occurrence. Power is a dire need all over the continent. 3, bureaucratic bottlenecks and tough business regulations that are bound all over the continent. As a rule, African countries rank low on the World Bank's Doing Business ratings of 2015. This is mostly attributable to bureaucracy. African countries need to do more to encourage easier takeoffs and even sustenance. 4, lack of mobility. Logistics infrastructure in a number of African countries is still extremely poor. Movement of goods and services with varying visa regulations is a challenge. Entrepreneurs running Pan-African businesses who may have been looking forward to obtaining the African Union passports may still have to wait the outcome of the challenges this supposed solution is facing. Everybody thought that would be one of the areas that would be a solution provider to some of the challenges that we face. But even that in itself is facing its own challenges. I believe that only 2 presidents out of all the countries within the continent have actually received it in a formal ceremony of the AU last year. 5, inconsistent government policies. There are various government policies and regulations that are not favorable to most entrepreneurial activities. This often occurs when a government comes into office and there's no commitment towards previous policies that have been formulated. 6, the dearth in entrepreneurial knowledge and skills. Expertise is necessary for all businesses, especially for inexperienced entrepreneurs. Many are eager to get started, even without adequate information and knowledge. It is therefore important to hire skilled personnel to make up for the skill deficits. In such cases, entrepreneurs must upskill themselves through training and through retraining. 7, lack of access to information, lack of poor internet coverage, lack of adequate statistics. Information is key, but most startups have huge challenges accessing information for research purposes and more. According to Internet World Statistics, the internet penetration rate for Africa as at 2017 is 36.2% as opposed to 85.7% for Europe and 88.1% for North America. This poor internet coverage can pose a strong limitation for entrepreneurs in Africa, as they're not able to have access to online, real-time information concerning their areas of endeavor. All these translate to a reduced level of innovation and productivity. Also, many African countries still need to give more attention to beefing up their national bureaus of statistics. 8, competition from cheaper foreign alternatives. As Anya said, most African economies are import dependent. Entrepreneurs experience competition from these cheaper foreign products and alternatives imported into their countries. Thus, they are not able to compete favorably with obviously better brands based on the improved technologies of the products. Incentives by governments such as tax holidays, etc., have a bigger role to play in helping the budding entrepreneurs win price wars. C. So what are the business opportunities that are bound in Africa? There are a lot of business opportunities in Africa that do not exist in other parts of the world, yet Africa is seen as a poor continent. If Africans can identify the problems in Africa and create solutions to them, the type that we are trying to create with this summit and through this summit, there will be a reduction in its poverty rates. It is still surprising how many people are blind to the gold mines of those opportunities in Africa, including Africans themselves. We as Africans need to search deeply, create solutions instead of complaining all the time about everything. So let's look at a few business opportunities that are available to entrepreneurs. 1, food and agribusiness. This industry is not a new type of business, but it is sad to say that it has not been fully tapped. A lot of people still die of starvation in the midst of plenty. We need to exploit this opportunity to its fullest. The African continent is blessed with fertile land and beautiful weather. Africa's production capacity is being underutilized, leading to large-scale importation of both raw, semi-processed, and processed products. We should encourage our youth to consider agriculture and food processing. Crop preservation between the farm and the consumer calls for attention. The appropriate technology will reduce wastage and create more revenue through local consumption and exportation. 2, apps and online services. Though the digital marketing sector is growing in the African continent, there are still vast opportunities for growth. Presently, many services are being rendered directly on the internet using specific apps, and online retail marketing is growing but could be a lot faster than what is currently obtained. In future, more apps and online services will launch across Africa to solve more of its problems and provide value to grow its economy. And then there's renewable energy. As the world continues to shift towards sustainability, in energy consumption. Africa, with its energy challenges, is fertile land investment and development in this sector. According to a recent World Bank study, only 1 of 3 people in sub-Saharan Africa have access to electricity. Therefore, paucity of energy coupled with ready availability of natural energy sources means Africa is a lucrative market for willing entrepreneurs. Through innovative, affordable, alternative power solutions, Africans must create local brands that can make global impact. Then there's real estate. There's a massive housing shortage in Africa, which creates a ready market for entrepreneurs who are willing to provide affordable housing and office spaces for the teeming population requiring housing. The demand for both residential and commercial real estate continues to grow across Africa. Housing and real estate business is an asset-worthy investment. Therefore, the value of real estate keeps appreciating. Now, my third major point is how do we unlock the potentials of our continent's budding entrepreneurs? I hereby reiterate, and I'd like to encourage the youth to engage in entrepreneurship as a means of creating jobs and to be innovative for sustainable development. We must start by modifying our education system to include entrepreneurship as a subject in our secondary schools and our high schools. We must encourage technical vocational education and training, TVET, which galvanizes entrepreneurship. We must incorporate such centers and business incubation hubs into our tertiary institutions. We must build industries that solve societal problems. Research has shown that those who had entrepreneurship training were on average 46 to 87% more likely to be self-employed than those who did not have the training. Therefore, entrepreneurial orientation must be available to African children at an early stage to spark the desire in them to seek job creation rather than become job seekers. The governments of African nations and financial institutions should encourage budding entrepreneurs by ensuring that finance is available to businesses with the potential for growth and also commit to further improving their business environments through sustained investment. This should not be left to philanthropists like me and private establishments, but also to our governments. Therefore, there must be a constant push for existing policies and legislations to be reviewed. New policies favorable to business activities should also be introduced, while enforcement should be executed through punitive measures. Government regulations should be flexible so as to fit the dynamics of the market. For example, the Rwandan government, in a bid to encourage entrepreneurship in the country, carried out a reform that enables a new company to be registered within 6 hours. Within 6 hours, that company can begin to operate. And that source is the Rwandan Development Board itself. Other African governments can imitate Rwanda's digital revolution to ensure that its populace have access to information and thereby increase their productivity and innovation. The Rwandan government's Smart Kigali initiative creates access to free wireless internet on public buses, hospitals, taxi parks, commercial buildings and restaurants, and most public places. In addition to this, it is also creating access to 4G broadband speed for 95% of the population. We all have a lot to get from the Rwandan government and its people. If they can do it, I don't see any reason why other African continents can't do it. They're one of us, and they've broken that glass ceiling, and I believe many more of us can do just that. Yes, each country has its challenges, but that's why we're having summits like this, to be able to hold hands and find ways and means of putting each other on to have a common front. Micro-entrepreneurs can come together through formalized programs by government or banks or NGOs to access finance to grow their businesses. State and regional governments should be encouraged to generate their own power supply, as lack of it would continue to kill businesses daily. More mentorship programs should be encouraged, and the incubators of young enterprises should be supported by public policy aimed at improving the quality of young entrepreneurs and their ventures. Also, avenues should be created where young entrepreneurs will be able to connect, learn, and share ideas with already successful, well-established entrepreneurs. Many young entrepreneurs, particularly young women, run their businesses from home or on the street, which significantly limits their access to suitable markets. Africa needs to improve and increase its internet footprint so that there will be an increase in the number of entrepreneurial transactions carried out across the borders, regions, and the continent. Improving IT infrastructure would allow for a reduction in the cost of technology. This, as well as the potential to create new markets, could have a significant impact on the sustainability of businesses. Corruption and unethical behavior must be decisively dealt with and not treated with kid gloves. We must empower our judicial system to enable them to prosecute erring offenders with appropriate sanctions meted at. There should be no sacred cows or untouchables. The same law must be allowed and must be applied to all, no matter their state or position in the society. In rounding up, I'm of the opinion that there's a need to infuse a can-do spirit in our budding entrepreneurs so that they will believe in themselves and their abilities to succeed despite their challenges. This is ever so true because it is in our challenges that we can birth the opportunities to develop and grow our future. We have started to see these challenges as blessings, and also the messages in our mess. We have started to see these challenges as blessings on a daily basis in every area of our lives. It can now be the catalyst we need to create regional alliances and cross-border initiatives that build on existing multicultural networks and the strengths of our diversity. It is time that we stop paying lip service to this as a region. We must take deliberate actions towards ensuring that entrepreneurs in Africa, whether budding or already existing, are providing and have provided the various types of support they need to build their businesses and ultimately develop our continent's economy. The time has come for us to look inwards. The time has come for us to grow our economy with our own resources, our own values, and our own people. The African youth is a potential giant tree whose seed we must plant, whose seed we must water, whose seed we must nurture for our continent to develop and flourish. I am persuaded that after this summit, our gathering would not have been in vain in view of the potentials that would have been unlocked in the minds of every entrepreneur as they aim for those goals with the spirit of excellence. Finally, I'd like to leave you with the words of President Paul Kagame of Rwanda. He said, and I quote, "Entrepreneurship is the surest way for Rwanda and Africa to develop." I'd like to thank you for listening to me, and I'd like to encourage you to have fruitful deliberations today. Thank you.